Morning students, this is Ilmurugan. Once again, through this video, I will come to your home for online classes. Through this video, we are continuing the 12th second lesson, Zoology, Human Reproduction lesson. This is the class 5, chapter 2, Human Reproduction, class 5. Now, through this lesson, we discuss about the various disorder of the female and male reproductive system. For the past four classes, we discuss about the structure and functions of the male and female reproductive system. Through this video, we are going to start the disorder of male reproductive system. What are the various disorders may occur in the male reproductive system? See, first one, benign prostatic hypertrophy, that is shortly called as the BPH. That means benign prostatic hypertrophy. That means the over functions of the prostate gland, so it become enlarged. So in short way, that is called as the prostatomegaly, enlargement of the prostate gland in male, also called as the prostatitis. So benign prostatic hypermegaly or the BPH or the prostatomegaly, prostatitis. Same, enlargement of the prostate gland, vingirum, so that the urethra going to be compressed. The urination is the problem, leads to the difficulty to the urination. It mostly occurs in the old age, right? Next one, prostatic cancer. That means the cancer development in the prostate gland. Extremely common malignancy, accounting for 2 to 3 of male death. 2 to 3% of the affected persons may die due to this factor. Malignant prostate cells are usually stimulated by the progesterone. Testosterone level அதிகமா போறதுனால இந்த மாதிரி வரலாம். So the treatment is what? Involvement of the removal of testes. Testes remove பண்றது. From the testes only testosterone level is more, so that may cause the prostate cancer. So castration or the surgical removal of testes, that is called architectomy. என்னது architectomy, நல்லா ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கங்க. Tomy அப்படினாலே கட்டு. Castration or the surgical removal of the testes is called as the architectomy. The most commonly used marker enzyme to the clinical diagnosis of the prostate cancer என்னது acid phosphatase. இதெல்லாம் தெரிஞ்சுங்க, உங்களுக்கு நீட் எக்ஸாமுக்கு ரொம்ப ஹெல்ப்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கும். acid phosphatase அந்த என்சைம் யூஸ் பண்ணி தான் இது கிளினிக்கலா டெஸ்ட் பண்ணி கண்டுபிடிக்கிறாங்க. அடுத்தது இம்பார்ட்டன்சி, மலட்டுத்தன்மை அப்படின்னு சொல்றது, இயலாமை அப்படின்னு சொல்றது. நல்லா பாத்தீங்க, inability to achieve or the hold the erected penis for long period during the sexual activity. While during the sexual intercourse, the penis is not in the erected position for the long period of the time. That is called as the impotency. That is an ஆண்மை இன்மை அப்படின்னு சொல்லலாம். இதுக்கு காரணம் என்ன சார் அப்படின்னா, so many factors we are going to see only few. That is the physical factor இருக்கலாம், physical problem இருக்கலாம், அல்லது neuronal disorders இருக்கலாம், அல்லது vascular disorder. ஏன்னு கேட்டா, the penis become erected only by the hydraulic pressure of the blood which are pass on to the penis. And the blood flow நல்லா இல்ல அப்படின்னா கூட penis become not erected. அதனால தான் vascular disorder இருக்கலாம், அல்லது syphilis infections இருக்கலாம். Next, sterility. Sterility அப்படின்னு சொல்லும் போது மலட்டுத்தன்மை அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவோம். ஆண் இனத்தன்மைங்கிறது வேற, that is impotency. இது மலட்டுத்தன்மைன்னு சொல்றது sterility. அதாவது inability of the sperm to fertilize the ovum. அண்டசெல்லை கருவரும் தன்மை இல்லாத ஸ்பெர்ம்ஸ் உருவாகிறது அப்படின்னு சொல்றது. immobility, நகரும் தன்மை இல்லாத இருக்கலாம், அல்லது மார்பலாஜிக்கலி அப்நார்மல் ஸ்பெர்ம்ஸா இருக்கலாம், அல்லது லோ கவுண்ட் ஸ்பெர்ம்ஸா இருக்கலாம், ஸ்பெர்ம் கவுண்ட் ரொம்ப கம்மியா இருக்கலாம். இந்த மாதிரி so many reason for the sterility. அடுத்தது ஏஜூஸ்பெர்மியா. A means the absence. Azoospermia அப்படினாலே the failure of the spermatogenesis. The spermatogenesis process, that means the formation of spermatozoa, that process become failure, so the sperms are not produced. Next one, inguinal hernia. See, in both in male and female, in the lateral side of the abdomen, a canal is there, is called inguinal canal, and the inguinal canal become teared, so the intestinal part become protrude in it. tearing of inguinal tissue may result the protrusion of the part of the intestine into the scrotum. Scrotumக்குள்ள intestinal part இறங்கிடும். அதுக்கு பேரு inguinal hernia அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவோம். அதேபோல ADAM, that means androgen deficiency aging male. எப்படி female வந்து menstrual period நிக்கிறத menstrual period, the stopping of menstruation, that is called menopause அப்படின்னு சொல்றோமோ, அதே போல male இதுக்கு என்ன பேருனா male menopause, that means the andropause அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. அதாவது androgen deficiency aging males அப்படின்னு. androgen, that is the male sexual hormone, அதனுடைய level குறைஞ்சு போயிடும். அப்ப அதனுடைய level குறைஞ்சு போயிட்டாலே ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கா that is the reproductive life cycle close ஆகுது அப்படின்னு அர்த்தம். So that is called male menopause, that is an andropause அப்படின்னு சொல்றது. அடுத்தது cryptorchism, கிரிப்டார்கிடம் அப்படின்னு சொல்றது. ஹிடன் டெஸ்டிஸ், அதாவது நார்மலா என்ன ஆகும், 7th month of gestationல அப்டோமன்ல ஃபார்ம் ஆன டெஸ்டஸ் கெட்டிங் டவுன் இன்டு தி ஸ்க்ரோட்டம், அப்படி வராம நின்னு போயிடும். நல்லா பாத்தீங்க, condition in which the testes do not descend into the scrotum lead to the sterility. டெஸ்டிஸ்க்குள்ள வராம அப்டோமன்லயே, சாரி ஸ்க்ரோட்டத்துக்குள்ள வராம அப்டோமன்லயே நின்னுக்கும். அப்ப the testis cannot produce the effective active sperms produce பண்ண முடியாது. அடுத்தது ஹைட்ரோசீல். ஹைட்ரோசீல் அப்படின்னு என்ன அர்த்தம், fluid accumulation in the vaginalis, tunica vaginalis of the testis. நம்ம ஏற்கனவே சொல்லியிருக்கோம், the testis was covered by the 3 layer. இதுல innermost layer என்னன்னா tunica vaginalis, sorry, outermost layer tunica vaginalis, middle tunica albuginea, inner tunica vascularis ன்னு சொன்னோம். இதுல இந்த tunica vaginalis layerல fluid accumulation ஆயிடுறது, நீர் கோத்துக்கும். So that is called enlargement of the testis, is called as the hydrocele. So these are the various kinds of the disorders may occur in the male reproductive system. Like அதே போல spermatheque, spermaceae அப்படின்னு சொல்றோம். First ejaculated sperm, while during the lifetime of the female, lifetime of the male, the first ejaculated semen is called as the spermatheque அப்படின்னு சொல்றோம். Next, the disorder in the female reproductive system. Like the male, in female also there are some disorders may occur. What are they? See, breast cancer. The breast cancer, nowadays it is more common, rarely seen before the age of 30. In an earlier period of the lifetime of the female, it is not occur, but most probably over the age of 30 it may occur. Treatment is the mastectomy. That means the removal of breast by the surgery. அடுத்தது cervical cancer. The lower part of the uterus is the cervix. Sometimes the cancer also may occur. The cervical cancer, அதுக்கு காரணம் என்ன, treated by the radiation. How does it occur அப்படிங்கிறது நம்ம அடுத்த லெசன்ல பார்ப்போம். அடுத்த லெசன், தேர்ட் லெசன்ல cervical cancer ஒரு டாபிக் இருக்கு. பட் ஒன்லி என்னன்னா ரேடியேஷன் அல்லது சர்ஜரி தான் இதுக்கு ஒரே வழி. அடுத்தது ஓஃபோரோசிஸ்டோசிஸ். Ophorocystosis, that means the ovarian cyst. Inside the ovary there are so many number of the cyst formation, that is called as the ophiocystis. See, the fluid filled tumors are in the ovary. Such cysts sometimes rupture and regress during the pregnancy. Okay, in old women they are surgically removed. That means they are surgically ovaries are removed அப்படினு சொல்றோம். Okay, next one, ectopic pregnancy. Normally the fertilized embryo going to be implanted in the uterus where it become developed. Sometimes the implantation of the embryo takes place other than the ovary, but more other than the uterus, most probably in the fallopian tube நடக்கலாம். That is called as a ectopic pregnancy. Implantation of the embryo in the other outside of the uterus, mostly in the oviduct, that means the fallopian tube நடந்துரும். அடுத்தது ophoritis. Ophoritis அப்படின்னா என்ன, inflammation of ovary. Ovary become inflamed because of infection. That is called ophoritis. அதுபோல endometriosis. From that word we can understand we are talking about the endometrium. Endometriosis, that means growth of the endometrial tissue out of the uterus. Uterus குள்ள தான் வளரும். Inside the uterus the innermost layer is an endometrium. So growth of the endometrial tissue outside the uterus is the endometriosis. Symptoms என்னவா இருக்கலாம், premenstrual pain or the unusual menstrual pain இருக்கலாம். menstruation போது pain இருக்கும். Treatment includes the hormonal therapy or the surgery. by surgery the uterus is removed. Next one, menstrual disorder. The menstruation is quite normally occur in the female. அதில் ஏற்படக்கூடிய disorders என்ன சார் அப்படின்னா எமென்ரியோ, எமோரியோ, என்னது absence of menstruation நடக்காம இருக்கலாம், அல்லது மெனோரேஜியா, excessive menstruation, excessive bleeding இருக்கலாம், அல்லது dysmenorrhea, painful menstruation. இப்படி various types of the menstrual disorders. அடுத்து infertility. Infertility என்ன அர்த்தம்? say inability to become pregnant. தாய்மை அடைய இயலாமல் இருப்பது, கருவுற இயலாமல் இருப்பது. due to the failure of ovulation. Ovulation இல்லாம இருக்கலாம். That means the secondary follicle release ஆகாம இருக்கலாம். Anatomical factor இருக்கலாம். And psychological or the physiological problems. So many problems began it so that infertility may occur. Okay, right. Now we are pass on to the next topic, gametogenesis. In the last class, we studied about the various structure and functions of the male reproductive system, female reproductive system, and the disorders we discussed. Now we are going to pass on to the gametogenesis. That means the formation of gametes. Already we know genesis means the formation. Genesis means formation. Gametogenesis, formation of male gamete spermatozoa, female gamete ovum is called as the gametogenesis. Process of the formation of haploid gamete. Why that is the haploid gamete? Because while during the gametogenesis, the special feature meiosis division, that is the reduction division, takes place, so that the chromosomal number is halfly reduced. So the sperm or the ovum, that is the male gamete, and the female gamete has the haploid number of chromosomes by the meiosis division. See, the process of formation of the haploid gamete, that is the sperm or the ova, from the undifferentiated diploid germinal cells that in the gonad, that means the reproductive organ, that is called as the gametogenesis. Normally, the gametes contain the haploid number of chromosomes because while during that gametogenesis, meiosis divisions occur. The meiosis division can reduce the chromosomal number halfly, so that is called as the reduction division. That is very important, have a very important significant role in gametogenesis, because through the meiosis division, the gametes may get the half number of the chromosome. That means the haploid number of chromosomes. This is very important for the maintenance of the definite number of chromosomes of a species. The human being possesses the 46 number of chromosomes. Such 46 number of chromosomes can be maintained only by the meiosis division takes place during the gametogenesis. By gametogenesis, the diploid germinal cell become the haploid gamete. Now, during the fertilization, by the union of male sperm and the female ovum, both of them are haploid. By the union of these haploid gametes, the diploid number of chromosomes can be maintained, so that during the gametogenesis, meiosis division has the more significant part. Next, there are two types of the gametogenesis. One is the spermatogenesis, that means the formation of spermatozoa in male. Oogenesis, that is the formation of ovum in the female. The gametogenesis is influenced by whom? FSH hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, and also the vitamin A and the vitamin E are also very important. The vitamin E is also called what? Sterility vitamin. Sterility vitamin. So for the normal fertility nature, vitamin E also essential. Now we are passed on to the spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis, as I told, the formation of or the production of male spermatozoa. See, that it takes place in where? Seminiferous tubules of the testes. Inside the testes, thousands of tubular structure in the testicular lobe, that is called seminiferous tubule. That is the site for the spermatogenesis from the germinal epithelium. The germinal epithelium has the two types of the cells. Already we studied. That is the primordial germ cell. Another one is the somatic cell, that is the Sertoli cell, or also called as the sustentacular cell or the nurse cell. The germinal epithelium has the two types of the cell. One is the germinal cell, that is the primordial germ cell. From that only the spermatozoa are developed. Another one cell is the somatic cells, that means the Setoli cell or the sustentacular cell are also called as the nurse cell. Okay. Now, the process of spermatogenesis has two parts. Spermatogenesis process involves two parts. One is the formation of spermatid. Formation of spermatid. That formation of spermatid has the three phases. One is the multiplication phase. Second one is the growth phase. Third one is the maturation phase. After that, the formed spermatid become the active spermatozoa. Formed spermatid is the spermatozoa. நல்லா கவனிச்சிங்க. The spermatogenesis has two stages. One is the formation of spermatid. Another one is the conversion of spermatid into spermatozoa. That is called the spermiogenesis or the spermatolysis. Spermatolysis அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. So first one is the formation of spermatid. Second one is the spermiogenesis or the spermatolysis. The formation of spermatid has the three phases: multiplication phase, growth phase, maturation phase. Okay. Now we are going to see the formation of spermatid. Formation of spermatid. See the picture. See the picture. Already I told the formation of spermatid has the three phase: multiplication phase, growth phase, maturation phase. Multiplication phase, growth phase, maturation phase. இங்க பாரு spermatogonium and the primordial germ cells சொன்னலையா, that primordial germ cells repeatedly undergo the mitosis to produce the spermatogonium. The spermatogonium is the sperm mother cell. Spermatogonium is called as the sperm mother cell. அப்படின்னு சொல்லி பாரு, endodermal cells of the yolk while during the embryonic growth. While during the embryonic growth of the male child, the endodermal cells of the yolk sac migrate to the developing testes, where it becomes the primordial germ cell. That is the diploid in nature. Note பண்ணிக்கணும். The primordial germ cell undergo the multiplication phase. Undergo the multiplication part at the sexual maturity. That means whenever the male person, a male boy, attain the sexual maturity, that means attain the puberty, the primordial germ cells undergo the repeated mitotic division, produce the more number of spermatogonium. That is also diploid in nature because only the mitotic divisions are taking place here. The spermatogonium is also called what? Sperm mother cell. Okay. There are two kind of the spermatogonium. Type A என்ன சார் அப்படின்னா, type A spermatogonia act as the stem cell. Once again it is going to divide mitotically, produce the spermatogonia. Spermatogonium divide mitotically, produce the spermatogonium. That is the type A. அடுத்தது type B spermatogonia, precursor of the spermatozoa. In the B type of the spermatogonium தான் further processல போய் இங்க spermatozoa உருவாகும். So that is the precursor of the spermatozoa. Next one, growth phase. நல்லா இங்க பார்த்து பாருங்க, spermatogonium அது mitosis முறையில் multiply ஆகி additional spermatogonia produce ஆகும். Some of that means the so-called the B type of spermatogonium enter into the growth phase. Why that is called the growth phase? Slightly the size of the spermatogonium become increased. நல்லா எழுதிப்போம் பாரு. Some spermatogonia cells increase in size 2 to 3 times of the size, so they are called as the primary spermatocyte. That is the growth phase. Growth means what? Enlargement. So the spermatogonium become increased 2 to 3 times of in size, that become the primary spermatocyte. Here there is no division, only the enlargement of the cells, so it is also diploid in nature. நல்ல bracketல போட்டுருப்போம். Okay. Next பாருங்க. Next, some of the spermatogonia cells migrate among the Sertoli cells towards the central lumen of the seminiferous tubule and modified enlarged to form the primary spermatocyte. இதுதான் நம்ம இங்க தெளிவா சொல்லியிருக்கோம். ஓகே, அங்க சொல்லியிருக்கேன் enlargement ஆகுதுன்ட்டு. அந்த enlargement எப்படின்னா feed எடுத்துக்கணும், food material எடுத்துக்கணும். ஏன்னா இங்க food material கொடுக்கிறது யார்? nourishment Sertoli cells. So some of the spermatogonium get the nourishment from the Sertoli cells, by which they are going to enlarge in size, is called primary spermatocyte. Primary spermatocyte, that is 2 in number. Now the most significant event, meiosis, takes place. Already we know. See the picture. meiosis 1. Meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Already you studied. The meiosis division is the reduction division as the two phase. One is the meiosis 1, another one is the meiosis 2. Here the meiosis 1, during the meiosis 1, chromosomal number is halfly reduced. So the meiosis 1 is the reduction, meiosis 2 is just like the mitosis. Okay, right. Now what go? Growth phase of the spermatogenesis is the longest one because the size has to be increased. So it is the longest one. Now it pass on to the maturation phase. So what kind of the division takes place during the maturation phase? Abdina meiosis division. What kind of the division takes place during the multiplication phase? Abdina mitotic division. During the multiplication phase, mitotic division. During the maturation phase, meiosis division. That is meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Okay, maturation phase. Which cell can enter into the maturation phase? See the figure. The primary spermatocyte. Primary spermatocyte undergo the meiosis division 1 to produce the two equal sized, underline the word, two equal sized cell, such is called as the secondary spermatocyte. Secondary spermatocyte. Each primary spermatocyte undergo the two successive meiosis division called as the maturation division. Here, first, while during the first meiotic division, primary spermatocyte produce the two equal secondary spermatocyte with n number of chromosomes, that is haploid. So this division is called as the reduction division. Meiosis 1. Meiosis 1 is called reduction division because during the time the chromosome number is halfly reduced. As the result of the meiosis 1, to what sized equal sized cells are produced, that are called the secondary spermatocyte. Now each of the secondary spermatocyte undergo the meiosis 2. Already told meiosis 2 just like the mitosis. Each of the secondary spermatocyte undergo the meiosis 2, produce the two equal, here also two equal sized cells that are called as the spermatid. Then each of the secondary spermatocyte undergo the second meiotic division and produce the two equal size. Here all the cells are equal in size, unequal kadiyadu. Okay, the second meiotic division is just like a mitosis because while during the meiosis 1, the chromosomal number is reduced, so that is called the haploid reduction division. The meiosis 2 is just like a mitosis. As a result of the maturation, the four number of spermatid. From the primary spermatocyte to secondary spermatocyte, each of the secondary spermatocyte produce the two equal sized spermatid. So clear, from one primary spermatocyte, 4 in number of spermatids are produced. From the single primary spermatocyte, 4 in number of the spermatids are formed. From the single secondary spermatocyte, 2 in number of the spermatids are formed. Primary spermatocyte in 4 spermatid. That is, 1 secondary spermatocyte in 2. The spermatids are formed, that is n number of chromosomes, haploid number of chromosomes has the 23 number of chromosomes. These spermatids are inactive sperm. Inactive sperm. From one primary spermatocyte, totally 4 spermatids are formed. Spermatids are inactive. Spermatids are inactive. Now, in the process, inactive spermatid become the active spermatozoa, that is called what? Spermiogenesis. Spermiogenesis. Conversion of spermatid into active spermatozoa is called as the spermiogenesis, or also called what? Spermatolysis. Okay. Transformation of the inactive spermatid into active spermatozoa is called spermiogenesis. That is also called what? Spermatolysis. By what way? By what kind of the changes the spermatogenesis takes place? In the spermatid spherical shape. The spherical shaped spermatid, inactive spermatid become the active spermatozoa. So what kind of the changes takes place? First one, changes in the nucleus. Changes in the nucleus of the spermatid is spherical. shape of nucleus changes from usual spherical to elongated one. The spermatid has the spherical nucleus. That nucleus become elongated to form the nucleus of the spermatozoa. So the nucleus la ஒரு changes வருது. Second one acrosome formation. The spermatid la இருக்கக்கூடிய spermatid a typical cell. It also has the Golgi complex. Golgi complex. Such Golgi bodies of the spermatid become the acrosome. The acrosomal structure is the most anterior part of the sperm. In the sperm oda tip enna sir appadina acrosome that helpful to penetrate the ovum during the fertilization. அதுக்காக இந்த acrosome ங்கற material form ஆகும். From which organ it become developed? Organelle it become developed na Golgi complex of the notour point. Golgi bodies of the spermatid become the acrosome of the spermatozoa. Next one, centrosome. In the centrosome ரொம்ப முக்கியம். In the centrosome la centrioles in பிரி. The centrosome of the spermatid become the centriole. These centrioles have the very important role. ஏன் கேட்டினா the centrioles are stimulating the cell division. ஒரு செல்லுல செல் டிவிஷனை ஸ்டிமுலேட் பண்றது இந்த சென்ட்ரியோல்ஸ். ஓவம் எக் செல்ல பார்த்தோம்னா இந்த சென்ட்ரியோல் கிடையாது. நல்லா கவனிப்பீங்க. In egg cell the centriole is absent. அப்போ suppose the egg cell fertilize ஆகல அப்படினா it cannot be developed. அப்போ எப்படி after the fertilization the zygote going to multiple undergo the cell division அப்படினா because the centriole can provide by the sperm to the ovum. ஓவத்துக்கு தேவையான centriole sperm மூலமா தான் போகுது. By which only the ovum can continue the growth. Okay, right. இப்போ இந்த centriole பாரு, centrosome of the spermatid consists of two centrioles. One is the proximal centriole, another one is the distal centriole. என்ன கொடுத்திருக்கோம்? Stages in spermiogenesis. பாரு, this is the spermatid. இதுல நியூக்ளியஸ் இருக்கு, centrioles இருக்கு, Golgi complex இருக்கு, mitochondria இருக்கு, cell membrane. So it is an ideal cell. ஒரு ideal cell தான். இதில் இருக்கக்கூடிய these organs going to converted into various organs of the spermatozoa. நம்ம first என்ன சொன்னோம்? nucleus சொன்னோம். This nucleus is the spherical. That spherical shaped nucleus become elongate forms the elongated nucleus of the spermatozoa. Like that. The Golgi complex என்னவா மாறும்னு சொன்னேன்? The Golgi bodies of the spermatid become the acrosome of the sperm. Like that, the centrosome சொன்னேன். The centrosome has the two centrioles. One is the proximal, another one is the distal centriole. Proximal centriole, distal centriole. இந்த படத்துல பாரு, it is the matured sperm. இதுல பாரு, next to the nucleus is the proximal centriole. அதுக்கு அடுத்து இருக்கிறது distal centriole. நல்லா கவனிச்சுக்கணும். The neck of the sperm னு சொல்லுவாங்க. Neck of the sperm has the centriole. One is the proximal centriole, another one is the distal centriole. Next to the nucleus. And the proximal and distal centriole form ஆகிறது இந்த centrosome இருந்து. பாரு, proximal centriole depression found for the posterior side of the nucleus, and one of the two centriole get positioned in the depression with its axis to right angle to the main axis of the sperm. நல்ல ஒரு proximal centriole இது. In the right angle of the sperm க்கு main axis இது. Sperm ஓட main axis இது. இந்த right angle to the main axis னா இந்த main axis க்கு இந்த வாக்குல இருக்கும். எங்க nucleus க்கு பின்னாடி இருக்கக்கூடிய depressionல. That is called the proximal centriole. Next one என்ன? Distal centriole. Behind the proximal centriole, the distal centriole is there. Behind the proximal centriole, the distal centriole that is parallel to the longitudinal axis of the sperm. நல்லா கவனிச்சீங்க. நான் ஏற்கனவே சொன்ன மாதிரி this is the main axis. இந்த main axis க்கு ஹரிசாண்டலா இருக்கிறது யாரு? proximal centriole. main axis ல இருக்கிறது distal centriole. இந்த ரெண்டு centrioles-மே very important role. The distal centriole இருக்குல்ல, பாருங்க நல்லா கவனி. The distal centriole going to form the axial filament. இங்க கொடுத்திருப்பாங்க பாரு, axial filament. These axial filament going to form the tail of the sperm. the axial filament going to form the tail of the sperm. This axial filament formed from the distal centriole. In the proximal centriole என்ன ஆகும்? And that proximal centriole enter into the uterus, enter into the ovum during the fertilization, helpful for the continuous growth of the ovum. நம்ம என்ன சொன்னோம் இல்லையா, ஓவத்துல சென்ட்ரியோல் கிடையாது, அதுக்கு தேவையான சென்ட்ரியோல் ஸ்பெர்ம் மூலமா தான் போகும். அந்த ஸ்பெர்ம் மூலமா போகக்கூடிய சென்ட்ரியோல் தான் proximal centriole. Okay, that proximal centriole causes the further multiplication of ovum, zygote அப்படினு சொல்லிக்கலாம். Next, the distal centriole give rise the axial filament. The distal centriole give rise the axial filament, that is the tail of the sperm. Changes in the mitochondria. See, in the mitochondria, that is the mitochondria is what? Energy house of the sperm nu சொல்லுவோம். இப்போ the energy house of the cell, the sperm has to be swim, நீந்தி போகணும். அதுக்கு தேவையான எனர்ஜி கொடுக்கிறது யாரு சார் அப்படின்னா இந்த மைட்டோகாண்ட்ரியா. The mitochondria of the spermatid going to become the spirally coiled structure around the axial filament. இந்த axial filament சுத்தி அப்படியே ஸ்பைரலா உட்கார்ந்துரும். அதுக்கு தான் பேர் என்ன? மைட்டோகாண்ட்ரியான்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. Okay, in mammal, mitochondria of the spermatid join to form the mitochondrial spiral around the axial filament. அதேபோல changes in the cytoplasm. இங்க நிறைய cytoplasm இருக்கும். இங்க spermatid has more cytoplasm. Such cytoplasm going to be reduced in size. Only the small amount of cytoplasm seen in the sperm, so that only the size of the sperm is too small when compared to the ovum. Size of the sperm is too small because it has only less amount of cytoplasm. Abundant cytoplasm of the நிறைய cytoplasm, spermatidல இருக்கக்கூடிய cytoplasm reduced to a condensed layer, very particularly in the head region and also the middle region around the mitochondria. நல்லா கொஞ்சம் in the middle region la around the mitochondria in the cytoplasmic sheath, that is called moncet அப்படினு சொல்லுவோம். That is called moncet. Now, changes in the plasma membrane. The plasma membrane என்னாகும்? It is a surround the acrosome, nucleus, middle piece and the main piece of the axial filament. மொத்தத்துல entire sperm can be covered by the protoplasmic membrane. That means the plasma membrane. In the axial filament formed from where? Axial filaments தான் எதை form பண்ணும்? Tail of the sperm. Such axial filaments are formed from the distal centriole. Now, in the total process of spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis means what? The formation of spermatozoa. The entire process of the spermatogenesis can be completed within 64 days. Check. Sperm production remain nearly constant at the rate of 200 million per day. ஒரு நாளைக்கு எந்த ரேட்ல ஃபார்ம் ஆகும்? Per day 200 million number of the sperms are produced. That is the rate of spermatogenesis. During this lifetime, a male during his lifetime can produce nearly 10 to the power of 12 to 10 to the power of 13 sperm cell. அவ்வளவு sperm cells produce ஆகும். நினைச்சு பாரு, ஒரு நாளைக்கு 200 million ஃபார்ம் ஆயிட்டு இருக்கு. That is the rate. Next, after the spermiogenesis, the sperm, இப்போ spermiogenesisனா inactive spermatida இருக்கிறது become the active spermatozoa. Now the active spermatozoa going to be embedded into the Sertoli cells. First class we போட்டிருக்கோம். Sertoli cells ல போய் புதைஞ்சுக்கும். ஏன்னா Sertoli cells who are what? The Sertoli cells are the nourished cells. They are called the sustentacular cell or the nurse cell, may provide the nourishment, food கொடுக்கிறது. So the active spermatozoa going to embedded in the Sertoli cells and finally released into the lumen of the seminiferous tubule, such is called as the spermiation. Two more questions. Now, the difference between the spermatogenesis, spermiogenesis. Or 3 more questions. Spermatogenesis, spermiogenesis. See, formation of spermatozoa from primordial germ cell is called spermatogenesis. This formation of spermatozoa from the spermatid, that means the transformation, that is called what? Spermiogenesis. Say, the spermatogenesis involves the multiplication, growth phase, maturation. But In spermiogenesis, only the differentiation. There is no such a different kind of the phases. Next, spermatogenesis. From one spermatogonium, 4 spermatids are formed. ஒரு ஸ்பெர்மட்டோகோனியத்திலிருந்து 4 spermatid. ஏன்னா ஸ்பெர்மட்டோகோனியம் தான் நம்ம மாறும் primary spermatocyte. From the one primary spermatocyte, 4 spermatids are formed. அதுல இருந்து 4 spermatozoa. இங்க ஒரு spermatocyte, one spermatid become the single spermatozoa. So these are the difference between the spermatogenesis and the spermiogenesis. Now, significance of spermatogenesis. இதனோட முக்கியமான ரோல் என்ன சார்? During this, one spermatogonium produce 4 spermatids. 4 spermatozoa form ஆகுது. Sperms are having the half number of chromosomes. By the way, the diploid number of chromosomes can be maintained. The particular chromosome number of the species can be maintained. By the meiosis division during the spermatogenesis, haploid sperms are formed. Like that, in female also, haploid ovum is produced. So, by the union of the haploid sperm, haploid ovum, diploid zygote, so the individual can get the diploid condition. During meiosis, crossing over also takes place. That is a special feature of the meiosis. During the mitosis, such things are not happen. During the meiosis, the crossing over of the genes that takes place. So, crossing over of the chromosome. So, there is a chance of variation. So that only the children born for the same parent, not alike together, even not alike with the parent. ஒரே பேரண்ட்டுக்கு பிறக்கக்கூடிய குழந்தைங்க ஒண்ணுக்குன்னு வித்தியாசமா இருக்கிறதுக்கும் பேரண்ட் போல இல்லாம சிறு மாறுபாடுகள் இருக்கிறதுக்கு காரணமே the crossing over while during the meiosis division, so that the variations occur. That is the evolutionary point of importance. Then hormonal control of spermatogenesis. இதுல என்ன சார் hormonal control to be studied? The spermatogenesis was influenced by whom? Gonadotrophin releasing factor from the hypothalamus. ஏற்கனவே நம்ம மேல் reproductionல பார்த்திருக்கோம். gonadotrophin releasing factor அப்படிங்கிறது hypothalamusல இருந்து வரணும். அது adeno hypophysis தூண்டி LH and FSH form ஆகும். LH என்னன்னு சொல்லலாம்னா ICSH ன்னு சொல்லலாம் and FSH they are called as the gonadotrophins. LH act on the Leydig cells of testes, release the testosterone. இந்த Leydig cells க்கு இன்னொரு பேர் என்னன்னு சொல்லிருக்கேன்? interstitial cells ன்னு சொல்லிருக்கேன். அப்ப இந்த ஹார்மோன் என்ன சொல்லலாம்? interstitial cell stimulating hormone சொல்லலாம் or the LH ன்னு சொல்லலாம். The FSH causes the spermatogenesis. The LH going to cause the stimulate the Leydig cell. Leydig cells ல இருந்து என்ன வரணும்? testosterone வரும். The testosterone and other hormone from the Leydig cells called as the androgen. Testosterone and other hormones from the Leydig cells are called androgen. ஓகேவா? இந்த testosterone என்ன வேலையை சார் செய்யும்? Stimulate the prenatal development of the male genitalia. பிறக்கிறதுக்கு முன்னாடியே மேல் reproductive organs எல்லாம் டெவலப் ஆகுது பத்தியா? அதை உருவாக்குது. அதான் prenatalனு சொல்லுவோம். Development of the secondary sexual organ and also the secondary sexual character during the puberty. Secondary sexual character develop ஆகுது. அதே போல maintenance of the male sex derived maleness tendency form ஆகுது. அடுத்து it also stimulates the maturation of the sperm from the secondary spermatocyte. Secondary spermatocyte ல இருந்து spermatid, அந்த spermatid ல இருந்து spermiogenesis மூலமா spermatozoa, அதுக்கும் இந்த testosterone. So these are the main role of this testosterone in male. FSH act on the Sertoli cells to secrete the androgen binding protein. நல்லா கவனிச்சுக்கங்க. LH stimulate the Leydig cells for the releasing of testosterone. அதே சமயத்துல FSH act on the Sertoli cells to release the androgen binding protein, that is the ABP, and also the hormone inhibiting. Here the ABP, that is an androgen binding protein, helpful to maintain their testosterone level. பாரு, இந்த ஸ்டிமுலேஷன் நடக்கல அப்படின்னா ஸ்பெர்மியோஜெனிசிஸே நடக்காது. ஏன்னு கேட்டீங்கன்னா நல்லா கவனிச்சுக்கோ. FSH along with the testosterone, FSH along with the testosterone causes the spermatogenesis. Upper testosterone level is very important. The level of testosterone can be maintained by androgen binding protein from the Sertoli cells. Upper the FSH has to stimulate the Sertoli cells for the releasing of androgen binding protein. That androgen binding protein helpful to maintaining the testosterone level. then only the spermatogenesis may take place. But ABP, androgen binding protein, concentrate the testosterone in the seminiferous tubule. போதுமான அளவு testosterone நிலைநிறுத்திக்கிறது ABP ஓட வேலை. அதே பட்சத்துல suppose testosterone level அதிகமா போகுது. If the testosterone secretion அதிகமா போச்சுன்னா என்ன ஆயிடும்? Prostatic cancer வந்துரும் நம்ம சொல்லியிருக்கோம் இல்லையா? அப்போ அந்த testosterone level ரொம்ப அதிகமா போகாம அதை தடுக்கிறது யாரு? Inhibin suppress the FSH synthesis. Okay, இது ரெண்டையும் நல்லா பாத்தீங்க. இது androgen binding protein helpful to maintaining the testosterone level. Inhibin reduce the testosterone level by suppress the FSH secretion. Both FSH and inhibin work as the negative feedback mechanism to control the sperm production. ஒண்ணுக்கு negative feedback. இது அதிகமான இது குறையும், இது அதிகமான அது குறையும், அந்த மாதிரி. ரைட், நெக்ஸ்ட் அதான் இப்ப படத்துல கொடுத்துருக்கோம் பாரு. ஹைப்போதலாமஸ்ல இருந்து என்ன வரணும்? gonadotropin releasing factor stimulate the anterior lobe of the pituitary, release the LH and FSH. இந்த LH க்கு என்ன பேரு? ICSH ன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. Stimulate the Leydig cell, going to release the testosterone. Testosterone causes the secondary sexual character and the secondary sexual organs. அதே போல FSH stimulate the Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells secretes what? Androgen, stimulate the spermatogenesis by producing the androgen binding protein. இன்னொன்னு inhibin. இதுல பாரு, இந்த பிளஸ் மார்க் போட்டிருப்போம், இங்கெல்லாம் மைனஸ் மார்க் போட்டிருப்போம். மைனஸ் மார்க்னா நெகட்டிவ் ஃபீட்பேக், பிளஸ் மார்க்னா பாசிட்டிவ். தட் மீன்ஸ் பாசிட்டிவ் ஃபீட்பேக் அப்படின்னு சொல்றது நெகட்டிவ் ஃபீட்பேக். இன்ஹிபினும் FSH நெகட்டிவ் ஃபீட்பேக். இங்க பாரு, இன் மேல் if the sperm production is high, inhibin is released from the Sertoli cells. That causes the hypothalamus not to release the releasing factor. ஏன்னா ஸ்பெர்மட்டோஜெனிசிஸ் அதிகமாகி ஸ்பெர்ம் ப்ரொடக்ஷன் அதிகமாகிட்டு இருந்துச்சுன்னா டெஸ்டோஸ்டிரான் லெவல் அதிகமாக இருக்குதுன்னு அர்த்தம். அப்போ the testosterone level control பண்றதுக்காக the inhibin hormone straight away go to the hypothalamus, by which it suppress the releasing of gonadotropin releasing factor. Right. Now, if there is no RF, the releasing factor வரல அப்படின்னா not to produce the FSH release ஆகாது. FSH release ஆகல அப்படினாலே இந்த ஸ்டிமுலேஷன்லாம் குறைஞ்சிரும். ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கா spermatogenesis process குறைஞ்சி sperm count become slow down. Sperm production become slow down. Right. The opposite reaction happen if the sperm count is low. அப்போ sperm count spermatogenesis அதிகமாச்சுன்னா இங்க இருந்து அப்படியே நெகட்டிவ் ஃபீட்பேக் மெக்கானிசம் போய் இதெல்லாம் குறையும். இதே sperm count குறைஞ்சிருச்சு அப்படின்னா, லோ ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா அப்படியே இந்த ரியாக்ஷன்ஸ் எல்லாம் பாசிட்டிவா வந்து. ஸோ பாசிட்டிவ் ஃபீட்பேக், நெகட்டிவ் ஃபீட்பேக். ஓகே, இதுல growth ஹார்மோனுக்கு ஒரு முக்கியமான ரோல் இருக்கு. growth hormone from the anterior lobe of the pituitary adenohypophysis also secrete the hormone growth hormone. Growth hormone இதுக்கு the name itself we can understand. The growth hormone may cause the growth of the bodily organ that is essential for the background metabolism of the testis. Testis la enna kuda athana variyana testis is also a bodily organ. Its growth is very important. The growth of the testis, development of the testis also influenced by the growth hormone. So the growth hormone responsible for the background metabolism of the testis. If suppose growth hormone specifically promote the early divisions of the spermatogonia, but divisions மூலம் என்ன ஆகும்? cells increase ஆகும். cells increase ஆகிறதானே நம்ம growth ன்னு சொல்றோம். அப்ப early part of the spermatogenesis, multiplication of the primordial germ cell and the spermatogonia, by which the primary spermatocytes are increased, that part also influenced by the growth hormone. Suppose if the the growth hormone level கம்மி ஆயிடுச்சு, அப்போ early part of the spermatogenesisல மல்டிப்ளிகேஷன் நடக்குமா? நடக்கும். மல்டிப்ளிகேஷன் பேஸ் நடக்காது. அப்போ ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கா spermatogenesis process is severely defect, so the person become sterile. Okay, right.